We are on the air. Good afternoon or morning or evening, everybody, depending on where you are in the world. This is Len, and this is our another exciting edition of Lunch with Len. We have a really special guest today, but before I get to that, let me just thank everybody for being here. Patricia, Bill, Chris, Angie, and I know we'll have a few more stragglers coming in at the last minute. Did I dare to say that? Did I call you guys stragglers? My God. Laura, do you have anything you want to say to the lovely folks before we turn Terry loose here?
No, thanks everybody for joining us. And today you have a real treat, and you're coming up, you'll understand why. So thanks for joining us, Terry.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we have an incredible guest today. His name is Terry Lamb. He's got a 21-year career track in network marketing. Plus, he did something that I really have a lot of envy for in a way, and that is he flew big airplanes around. He was a captain with United. Am I allowed to say what airline you were with, or is that sort of?
Yeah, I usually don't say it, but yeah, absolutely, it doesn't matter. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he was a captain with United Airlines, so there is a better than even chance that I was sitting on an airplane and Terry was driving it sometime over the years, because I had over 1 million miles on United myself, but only as a passenger. And I'm not gonna read too much about or say too much more about Terry. He jokes and he calls himself an entrepreneur, rebellious. He says he's got all the characteristics of being a true entrepreneur: rebellious, never taking no for an answer, making his own rules. Well, we won't read anymore. We're just going to turn this on over to Terry and say, Terry, welcome aboard, man. It's really good to have you.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
I'm going to white box you so that we see you. So even when I'm talking, everybody should see you. So take me back to the beginning, Terry. Let's just start. You've got a 21-year history in network marketing, but you had this cushy corporate job. I mean, most people in the world would die to have a job as a captain. And you actually did. Were you typed in 747s or was?
No, I think the last type I had was the Airbus 319. I don't think I ever had any time in a 747. Back when I did any Boeing stuff, it was 727 back in the early 90s with a cargo company out of Florida. But yeah, I mean, when you go through the aviation career, just for some reason I had a knack for it. So my instructors and everybody pushed me. But the truth was I didn't want to have a job at all. Like you were reading, I think that was my bio from the MLSP Member of the Month, but I just was not built to have a job. And all along, I really wasn't, because I was just very rebellious against the system. And even literally, not going to kid you, every job I've had, I was ultimately fired from. And the reason that is because not because I didn't do really well in the job, because I wanted more from it. And typically the corporation pushes back. It was the same thing with flying. They would, we're not going to talk about flying the whole time, but one of the concepts of leaving was the fact that they would always question you as a pilot about your decisions that you were making, tough decisions to not land at an airport and go somewhere else. And that's the kind of stuff when they asked me, I said, I made a decision. What else do we have to talk about after the fact? And they did not like that.
Right.
And that's my attitude I think that has transferred very well to being an entrepreneur and being in business, because you have to make stuff happen. And the happiness for me was making the choices that I wanted to make. And, if I fell flat, I fell flat. And if I succeeded, I succeeded. So here we are. I succeeded from that attitude. So maybe the value of bringing it into this conversation is the fact that, letting go of the employee mentality, which was very easy for me to do. And I see it's tough for a lot of other people. They come in and say, how quickly do you think I can make X number of dollars? And it's like asking the old question of how long is a piece of string? I don't know. I don't even know if you're going to get out of bed on time in the morning to make this happen. I don't know. I think the big premise is this: it works like gangbusters if you work it. And then comes the question, what should I be doing? So, I don't want to spend the whole time talking about the 21-year stretch, but I probably can put it down into a few minutes and extract some value out of it. I think, to me, it was always about income. And then as I got older, I realized it was really about freedom. And so in the beginning, the income was driven through, when I was a flight instructor, I was making $12,500 a year. And that's a pretty low income.
You were flying a hell of a lot of hours to make that much money as a flight instructor.
Oh, you know what? That was a salary. And so whether I flew or not, it was one of those really good instructor jobs, but $12,500 a year was a salary. And I flew every moment I could because I knew it was about, doing what it takes. It's almost like we can liken it to attraction marketing on the internet. Not having a budget, but being able to just do what it takes. Literally, I tell people this, turn on your cell phone and start recording videos and putting yourself out there. That's doing what it takes. So as an instructor, I decided I'm going to get into the mail order business. Really, what was I saying? Information marketing. And I wrote a manual, printed it out on my computer, and started selling it with classified ads. And then in '94, I transferred it to the internet and started selling it on the internet, and got orders from all over the world over time, and a lot of work, a lot of hustle. Didn't just put it out there and it happened. Come to find out that selling a manual online that you ship all over the world wasn't a good idea to sell it at the price I was, which is $39. So I upped the price to $97. People kept ordering. And through that experience, it grew. My online experience grew. And the real passion became affiliate marketing. I never really wanted to be, in 21 years, I launched my first information product last year. So I have been a pure, what you might call super affiliate. It just took me a long time to figure out how do I sell affiliate marketing? How do I promote it? And the difficult thing, it's really the same thing with network marketing or anything else, is that what happens is I call it, I don't think it's the right word, but it's incestuous advertising. What everybody is doing is they're copying off of everyone else, and everyone else's stuff doesn't work. It's like the old adage, you'll remember this, the yellow pages. You go to the yellow pages and you're looking for a plumber, or you're looking for a lawyer, and there's page after page after page of everybody saying the same thing. Who's different? What's different? So I looked at the affiliate market and I said, how do I do this different? How do I not be the guy that goes to Facebook or the forums and just start posting my link and push, push, push? I said, how do I pull? How do I get them to call me? And it's just some simple, interesting concepts, and maybe there's the secret. I was willing to talk with people on the phone. I remember in the beginning, the big aha moment was putting some interesting but incomplete information out there that required someone to reach out and give me a call. And from that call, I would not send them to the affiliate offer or the network marketing offer unless they were ready to buy. So what ended up happening was I became a really quick super affiliate. I became top of any of the leaderboards of the companies I was in because I would only send a prospect to, through my affiliate link if they were ready to buy. So people, the owners of the company would call me and say, how are you converting at 70%? Everyone else converting at half of 1%. Well, I'm giving it up to you right now. I talked to them on the phone and I didn't send them anywhere until they were ready to buy. I didn't just willy-nilly send my affiliate links and traffic and all this stuff. So that made me look good inside of the company. And it also increased just my visibility. People wanted to come to me and say, how are you converting at 70%? Usually my answer is this. And that's a real accurate number. My answer is this. My answer is, you don't want to know. You are not willing to do what I'm going to tell you. And they're like, no, I want to know the secret. Well, the secret is talk to people on the phone, qualify them, and send a qualified person over to get on your team. And it is piece by piece by piece, obviously. People don't want to do it. I did it in the beginning when my commissions were $15 a sale. I would talk to people for an hour to make $15 because I knew I needed the momentum. I was willing to do what it took. And then once I got into, the real money came in doing the exact same thing, attraction marketing, I literally started with YouTube, and I put my phone number on YouTube. You can go find videos that I've put on YouTube right now with my phone number, and it will ring. Now, it's on silent right now, so good luck getting a hold of me, but it will ring. And all of the marketing I put out there was the opposite of what everyone was doing. If they were in XYZ company, they were doing videos about XYZ company. And I was in XYZ company, and I was never mentioning XYZ. I think it's the old Joe Sugarman, the blue blocker concept. If you'd follow Joe Sugarman, he said, sell the concept, not the product. So everybody gets into marketing online, and they start selling the product. XYZ company, XYZ product. And you immediately lose customers doing that. So I guess the bottom line premise was that once I realized that the conversion happens from the conversation, it's not sales. That's what's interesting. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but everybody's like, what's your sales script, Terry? I don't have a sales script. That's where you're automatically preventing yourself from success, because it's deep inner psychology. People buy you. They do not need to be sold anything. They have all the answers. You just have to ask the right questions. And that's all I ever do. In fact, I only ever ask one question, and we go from there, and we can talk about that if you want, but it's nothing secret, it's nothing simple. I ask a question, and it's the premise that since people buy me, people buy you, that by the fact that you just talk to them, you will have success even if you don't do a call to action at the end of the call. Even if you don't say, go to my website, watch this video, whatever it is. If you're emailing your list every day, they're not going to forget you. I talk to that guy or that gal, and I'm getting an email from them, so I'm going to pay attention to them. And it's this odd psychology. I'm like, I've had actual people buy from me that say, well, I didn't call you first, but I knew I could. So I'm calling you now after I've joined your team because I'm ready to get started. So I know I'm kind of like throwing a bunch of stuff out there, but conceptually that, it's just the ultimate way to do it. Just to kind of finish that thought there, where it really changed for me is when I went into and I started doing some high ticket affiliate stuff, stuff that was making $1,000 commission. When I went from $15 commission literally to $1,000 commission with looking for the right offer online, the first week I did $58,000 in commissions, and it was the most I'd ever made. And I did it in a week. I actually did it in 3 days, a 3-day promotion, and everything changed after that. My mindset, I understood, I believed that it was possible because I actually did it. I never didn't believe it, but it's much more helpful when you've actually accomplished it. And then of course the company called me and said, what on earth did you just do? We've never had anybody do 58,000 in a month, let alone 3 days. And I said, you wouldn't be impressed. It's the same story that I've told you already. And they're like, no, really, tell me. And I said, I did a video on YouTube for 7 minutes, and I sold the concept, not the product. It was interesting, but incomplete. And there was a very important thing in marketing that everyone seems to miss. It's the scarcity and time limited offer. I said, you have until 72 hours from now to join my team. I'm going to show you how to earn $1,000 commissions. I'm going to give you this. I'm going to give you this. Literally helping them. Like, what am I giving them? Guess what one of my bonuses was? My phone number. They already had it anyway. But that's a bonus when you're in a program to be able to have someone help you. And anyway, I said, well, I just talked to them on the phone. And then people bought. And the owner of the company said, that was brilliant. And I thought, that's not brilliant. That's the true, that's the way to do business. Everyone online is trying to avoid that. Terry, I sent an email every day for the last week and haven't made a dime. Okay, let me see your emails. Oh, you don't have a phone number in there. You're not really using your name. You're using some business name, and they can't find you on the internet because you have no videos. So, you don't need to do a video every day. You probably need a dozen videos out there on the internet so people can go find you. and put your big phone number right at the bottom. And if you're one of those people that says, and I've heard this before, if you're one of those people that says, well, I can't put my phone number out there, Terry, I have a family. What if someone calls me at 3 o'clock in the morning? And I just shake my head and I go, go back to work then. You're not in business. I didn't say you had to take a call at 3 a.m., but you've got to be in business. So it's all of these, maybe even old school things, probably old school. I'm talking about the phone. I talked about the yellow pages, right? The concept. But that's where it's been. And I just continue to run my business that way. And of course, I'm leveraging a lot of technology these days, but it's still the same core thing. It's me working with people. It's me having my phone number, being available. And not a lot of other people are doing that in the industry. It's just not. Kind of weirds people out when I answer. They say, oh, I thought it was going to be voicemail. I'll call you back. I don't know what to ask you. I'm like, no. There's nothing to ask me. Let me ask you. And I ask them that question that, by the way, if you want to know what the question is, I just simply say, what have you been doing up to this point to earn some money online? If I don't know what you've been doing, if I don't know where it hurts, I can't prescribe anything. And my prescription is always the same thing. I want to help you, but you got to be on my team. That's a caveat. Not going to lie to them. You can't go to your doctor for free. It costs for a doctor's appointment. It costs for consulting. But mine is very, very simple. I leverage we talked about it earlier, the MLSP platform. I love it. It's everything that I would have needed to have built myself if I wanted to coach and help a team be successful on the internet. If I literally could bring someone onto my MLSP team and never talk to them again and they could have success. I don't do it that way. I actually help them, give them the tools, make myself available to them. And yeah, it's pretty straightforward, kind of old school, right?
Well, I don't know that it's old school. I mean, certainly the yellow pages are, but they're pretty passe. But you're preaching to the choir, and you're preaching what we teach all the time, and that is that you got to put yourself out there. You got to put value into the marketplace, but you got to talk to people. A lot of people, I think, get into internet marketing because they have this illusion that they can sit behind their computer and pound away, and somehow that's going to magically make money for them. And it doesn't work that way. It just simply doesn't.
It doesn't. An interesting thing. I say this quite often. I record all my calls when calls come inbound, and I never have to listen back to them because it's always the same. A lot of times I say this to people. I go, are you comfortable with us doing a little bit of therapy right now? I'm not a registered therapist, but I can hear why it's not working for you. Let me repeat some of the things you said that I know, and this is what I say to them, that I know would never work, but yet you've continued to do them, and you told me you've been doing them for 2 years. Things like they are dabbling in everything. Well, Terry, I got a blog, and I did 2 videos, and that really didn't work for me, and I've been on Facebook. I'm thinking about doing Facebook ads, and I just automated my Twitter account, and I'm posting to Instagram right now. And I'm like, well, therein lies your problem. And what's interesting is the best advice in the world is pick one platform and go deep. I've heard it a million times. You've heard it. But when I tell it to people, here's what they come back with. They say, well, give me a couple weeks to kind of shut some of this other stuff off. And I say, no, you shut it off immediately today. If you come into my coaching group and we've determined that you're going to use Twitter as your main social platform, and you come 3 weeks later, I see an email or I see a post where you're blogging, we're done. I told you, blogging in my eyes is for people that already have a major presence. But if that's where you're starting, it's okay, great. So what's blogging lead to? Blogging leads to 3 months of messing with WordPress and getting nothing done. I tell people when they come onto my team, we are going to make 2 sales. as fast as we can, whatever that takes. And if you dare do the busy and broke process, which is what everybody wants to do, it feels good. You know, the dopamine release in your brain when you're learning. People come into my group and they say, well, you know, what should I do? Should I go through all the training? I go, don't look at it at all. Don't consume it all. It's like they buy a McDonald's franchise and then they want to eat all the burgers themselves. No. Stop consuming. You have to become a business owner. You have to say, what is this? Take the burger and pull it apart. How is it made? How can I make this better? How can I make sure my employees are doing it right? How can I perfect the system? How can I sell what it is I'm in? You know, and it's a tough transition for people. It really is. But I try to give them literally, you know, I'm kind of being a little tongue in cheek, but the therapy to help them get out of their own way. And frankly, rarely, not being negative, but rarely do I see anyone that can actually hear. They're still going to do, well, I'm doing 8 things instead of 20. No, you do 1. That's how I succeeded. I got on YouTube and I just did YouTube and my business took off. And I didn't diversify. I'm diversified today, but I spent the time in each of these platforms to focus and build them up. You don't see me doing 10 different things, you know.
Oh, that's right. That's right. And we teach people the same thing. We try to teach them to pick one thing and develop it fully and completely before you go off to other things. I think the problem so many people have is the shiny object syndrome. And they're in a hurry to make a buck. So they think, they see this over here that says, come over here and, you know, you can make a lot of money real quick. So they run over there, that doesn't work. And then they're off to the next thing. And they're looking to make a quick sale and not understanding what it takes to build a sustainable, duplicable, long-term business.
See, they don't want to hear that for some reason. And I tell people this, when I say, what have you done up to this point, right? Well, they start firing off all the programs I've been in. And I said that, you know, they all work. They all work. But do you realize that you bought into the marketing and you're still a consumer? You've got to sit back and go, oh, this is marketing. This is hype. I get that. I'm going to buy into it because I like the message, but I'm then going to go sell it. I'm not waiting. I literally have had people sign up in programs with me and 3 months later say, I quit. And I go, oh, okay, well, why'd you quit? It's not working. Okay, what did you do? Well, I signed up. I'm not kidding you. They thought that by signing up, somehow that thing would just start doing. And I'm not kidding you. It's not. I think to myself, are you okay? You know, like, but here's the deal. It's the human condition. You know, I know people are listening. You don't know me. You're probably going to think that I'm being negative. What I'm doing is giving you a level of awareness, you know, especially about what I'm about to tell you, that I call the elusive obvious. It's a great book. It'll hurt your brain if you read it, called The Elusive Obvious by Moshe Feldenkrais. It's a deeply psychological book. But when I read that and other things like it, I started to go, there's something going on all around me that most people don't see at all. They do not see it at all. And it's the elusive obvious. So here's one. It's the concept of, you ever heard the term rubbernecking? Ever hear of a rubbernecker?
Well, sure.
Yeah, and a lot of people they haven't heard that, and don't know what that is. But here's an exact life situation that I've been in, and I liken this to what everyone is allowing. It's about what you're allowing, right? It's just what you're not aware of and what you're allowing, and it's usually about right here. You know, it's not elusive. I mean, it's elusive, but it's right there. So it's elusive, but obvious. So it's the concept of a 5-lane highway with a 50-yard strip of grass in the middle, and then 5 lanes on the other side. All 5 lanes are going 80 miles an hour, and then all 5, and just about everybody in the world has seen this, all 5 come to a dead stop, and stops traffic for miles, literally all 5 lanes. And when you get up there and traffic from that point starts to speed up again, you realize what was slowing them all down. It was a car across the 50 yards of grass, across 5 more lanes, that's sitting there with a white t-shirt hanging out the window. All traffic on the other side is moving perfect. But way over here, we had to stop our life and look. And the ramifications of that, of what is going on behind us, and how all of those people literally don't realize what they're doing. Now, when someone like me, and I'm sure there's other people, get up to that point and we take off, I think to myself, and I'm not being negative here, that's who I'm selling to. I have to understand them better than they understand themselves. Why are they doing this? What's going on in their life so robotically that they allow this? So you're not selling to people that are literally educated enough to buy your stuff. You've got to educate them. And when you can educate them in a way that maybe even appeals to the rubbernecker, then you're meeting them where you're entering the conversation that's already going on in their head. So, I mean, I lean a lot on psychology and my marketing and what's going on, but it's just literally setting back, paying attention. Paying attention. I use one other analogy here, and I don't want to go too long. You can tell I'm a talker, right? But a very interesting way to think about psychology. Once you start to see what's going on, you start to have so much fun in life. I always do this with friends. If we go to an establishment, let's say a bar, and everybody's watching the football game, everybody's around like a U-shaped bar and they're watching the football game. I said, I'm going to show you how I can control the room by saying nothing. All I have to do is walk up to that television and look back out at everyone else and just look at them. And after a few minutes, everyone's looking at me, wondering why I'm not doing what they're doing, which is watching the TV. And now I control the room. And that, I think it's a great analogy, and it's actually the truth. Go try it sometime. Go try it sometime. People be like, hey, buddy, what are you doing? You just keep looking at them. Their minds can't process this robotic thing that most people allow themselves to go through in life. They can't process that. And if you can begin speaking to those people and understanding, it's again, not being negative. I'm saying that's where they're at. If you can't meet them there, if you start saying, oh God, you have a job. I mean, you're insulting them right away. A lot of people do that in network marketing. You don't insult people for them having a job. You understand how that job is affecting them, and then you speak to them that way. It's a process. It's not, will you marry me? It's, hey, do you have a phone number so we can maybe talk sometime, type of thing. So not to get off on a rant there, but a lot of that psychology understanding is what has helped me get on the phone and talk with people without even really having to give them a call to action. Okay, thanks for calling today. Hope that helped. They will seek you out on the internet. They will read your emails. They will join your team because that's your message, putting your message out there, right? And that's how it works. But it's definitely not, the typical lottery ticket mentality that you get. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but because it's quite rampant. Same thing with rubbernecking and standing at a TV and looking out at everybody and controlling the whole room by doing that. I think it's just about being aware and maybe being a little bit different. So guess what? I'm probably different.
Well, it's a good difference. I really like listening to you. I'm learning a lot. We're already actually past 12. And Laura, do you have any questions? Does anybody else out there have any questions they'd like to ask this guy while we still have a hold of him? We're going to let him go in a little bit.
Yeah, I can do some like off the cuff therapy with anyone. I think one of the things when I bring people onto my team is I use the simplest word in the world, focus. And I ask them if they understand what that means. And what's interesting is they think Typical person thinks focus is focus on everything. I need to be everywhere all the time. That's not focus at all. That's the opposite. It's, in my sense, that's the opposite. So focus is, here's something else that I say that I hope resonates with people, is that you have to be aware of yourself so much that learning is an absolute chemical dopamine brain addiction. And that you'll find, and I'd learned this about myself, that you can get into these programs and you can consume all the coaching and training and understanding and never get anywhere. And it feels really good. What happens is when you start implementing something like a technique that you learned about Twitter, you start implementing. Implementation also lies inside of boredom. Boredom is where the profits are made. If you're constantly feeling satiated and drugged up from learning, that's why you're not making any money. You have to set yourself up a set of tasks. And I have a sheet of paper that hangs here in my office, a set of tasks that keep you bored. And you have to consistently monotony, you have to do them. And if you can do them on one platform, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, whatever, boy, you will just take off. Given the other things I said, phone number, talk to people, no sales script, after about 10 conversations, you can take the phone, and when you ask them that question, what have you done up to this point to make some money? When you ask them that, you set the phone down, walk away for about 12 minutes. You can come back, they'll be finishing, and you'll go, okay, let me repeat this back to you, make sure I got it right. When you do, they go, wow, you really understand me, Terry. And I'm not even being funny, guys, even though it's funny.
I believe it. I believe it.
I mean, you don't, after 10 calls, it's pretty much the same thing. It's the same thing. And I'm not being negative. I'm saying it's the reality. And if you can help people from that level of being inside of reality, you'll do really, really well. Someone was in my coaching program today, actually, and it's like, it's like $150 a month. They'd already called me 12 times this morning. I answered a few things for them, and then they said they're losing hope in me. And I said, if you think that I'm going to drive to your house and hold your hand for $150 a month, I'm not. But if you can take the steps that I'm giving you, you'll get there. What was interesting is whenever you give someone step 1, guess what they always want to know? What's step 9, though? It's the human condition. I don't even know why that happens, but you have to be aware of it and go, and in coaching and in guiding, you have to have things in place that says, like, for example, I tell people in MLSP, go learn the system. And I give them some pretty detail, like don't consume it. Don't eat the cheeseburgers. Open them up and look what's in them, like a McDonald's franchise. And then come back to me and tell me when you're done. So literally people will come back to me the same day. I'm ready, Terry. I went through everything. Okay. Under this menu item and this menu item, step number 7, what is that about? I don't know. I'll get back with you. You didn't take any notes? You didn't pay attention? So it's that level of, and people get frustrated, but if you don't focus and you don't listen to your coach and you don't do exactly what he tells you, which most people don't, not going to lie, they just don't. I don't know why. I do my best to give it to them, but it's their own, it's the rubbernecking. It's all of those things that are going on in their life that they're just not aware of. And, I could go on and on about that, but I think it really helps people to talk. I never really talk at that level, like out loud, because it seems a little harsh. But boy, what I'm trying to do is give massive value in the sense that if you understand yourself and you understand people, you can operate, certainly understanding yourself, you'll operate a lot better instead of, push marketing, and as opposed to pull. And I know that's very generic, very general, but if you can get that languaging in your head, then it's makes you rethink things. Totally.
No, I love it. And you're absolutely right. The vast majority of people are simply not coachable. They think they are, but they're not.
Yeah, it's tough, you know.
Until
I've
in the face and
I used to think that everyone could succeed. I was so excited once I figured it out, just the basics. Like I could go to my whiteboard right now and within an hour give someone everything they ever needed to know about any of this stuff. I truly think I could do that. But I realized that it wasn't about any of that. It wasn't about what works. It wasn't about me giving it to them. It was about whether they were actually going to implement it or not. And they just aren't. They just won't. I don't know. I think when I quit my job in 2006, I just quit cold. I was actually close to getting fired because I was just rebellious against the system. Someone asked me, a chief pilot asked me, set me down one day and said, explain to me why you diverted and didn't land where there was a tornado. And I said, are you serious? I didn't land because there was a tornado. So he pulls out the weather report and he reads through it, you know, printed on a piece of paper as if that's the weather. And I said, what part of there was a tornado on the field that isn't anybody hearing from me? And he immediately said he was going to fire me. And he didn't fire me that day. And I went home and I went, I'm done. I don't care if I have to live in my dad's basement and eat ramen noodles for the rest of my life. I'm a grown man. I'm not taking this. And I quit. You know, first year I made about $150, spent all of my retirement. And when I was at my worst, at my lowest, is when I started to climb the ladder of success. I just had to knock out of my head. I had to be at my lowest point. What's the old saying? My success is built on a rock solid foundation of failure, you know, until I hit rock bottom, I didn't build anything. So it's definitely a level of awareness that people need to be aware of about themselves.
yeah. Yeah, and I hear what you're saying about, I mean, we can talk about flying and airline jobs and stuff, although I don't have the experience you have. I know enough about it, and I know I have enough friends that have flown commercially, professionally to know what goes on, or some of what goes on.
Yeah.
Have you watched Sully? Have you seen the movie The Whole Story?
You know, I don't want to watch it. I'll be honest with you. You know, it left such a bad taste in my mouth that was my dream. And I made my dream to go fly at the airlines. And I took pay cuts after 9/11. I took pay cuts 7 years in a row. Pay cut after pay cut. Every pilot in the union was glad to take a pay cut. You know, they were literally standing on the airport with a cardboard sign that says, "We'll fly for food." And I was in it for the money. Not to be shallow, I wanted the income. The income leads to everything else. And I hated it. And honestly, watching Sully, I think would bring back too many just horrible, unhappy memories for me. I'm not kidding. I hated it, you know, so here we are.
Apparently the NTBSB put him through hell.
Oh, I know.
And, you know, you just got to look at that. You got to wonder the mentality of the people.
Yep. No one cared that I saved 134 people at a time. No one ever cared. And I'm not being emotional like I needed people to care. They literally cared so little that they would tell me they were going to fire me every time they didn't like something I did. Tell you one little quick last thing that is really bad to do to a guy like me, an entrepreneur, a self-starter, an ambitious guy. Every year we would go for what's called recurrent training. And it would be a couple hours of ground drilling and a couple hours in the simulator. And I can talk about myself for a minute here and tell you this. I was really good at it. I just had a knack for flying and I loved it. I was really good at it. It wasn't a skill set that I had to struggle with. It came natural to me. And not a lot of people it does. So the logic, we've sat down one day in ground school, and this was like the year that I quit. And so two guys, is me and a first officer, probably not even someone that I flew with ever before, and they would drill us with questions. And the instructor, his job was to make us look bad. You could tell that's what was going on. And he asked me a question one day about a limitation on the airplane, that the only way you would know what that limitation was, there's always a placard on everything, right? Every motor, every switch has a limitation in the airplane, and you're supposed to memorize it. But I knew there were things in the airplane that no matter how I memorized it, I had no control over it. There was no button for it. There was nothing I could do. It was a fail-safe mechanism. It was either on or off, right? But the only way to know this in the airplane that I flew was to stand on your head in the cockpit in front of the control column and look up and look at the limitation underneath this thing, okay? That was the only way to know it. So he asked us that in the ground school, and I said, it's a BS question. I'm not answering that. It's useless. And he failed me. It went on my record. It failed me. And I realized, oh my God, I'm up against a game that I can't win. And that's an uncomfortable life for me. If you look at this business, network marketing, MLSP that I'm in, affiliate marketing, I can win every time I want to. Every time. No one's telling me what to do. I mean, if I want to use the F word and email it to 10 million people, I'll do it. Not that I would, but I've done it before, and people lose their brain over it. But it's nice to have that freedom and the ability to just generate massive amounts of income, literally 50K a month if you're willing to work at it, maybe even 100K a month if you're really willing to, you're willing to do 18-hour days. You can do that in just about any one of these programs. So, not to get off on that whole rant there, but that's a key to show that you don't have to put up with this job, debilitating, mental, terrible thing that the world is doing to you, because freedom out here, literally, even if I never make millions in the industry, boy, I'm free.
Yeah.
I am happy. And it could not be any better than that. Couldn't be any better.
And that examiner that wanted you to stand on your head and wiggle your ears and look under the seat or wherever the placard was probably a 21-year-old punk fresh out of ground school anyhow, right?
You know what it was? It was the older guys that had been failed. The system had failed them. They were stuck where they were. They were never going to get to the big airplane. They were never going to get to the 777. They were never going to get to $300,000 a year income. So what's interesting, what happened that day is we got out of ground school. Now, he never told me that I failed the ground portion. We got in the simulator. We flew the simulator, and the simulator broke. So they had to stop our training. So they sent us home, and I got a call. And it was, corporate. Well, we understand that you failed, Terry. I did? I didn't fail. Oh, you failed. It says right here. I said, was anybody going to tell me? And I started to realize it's the bureaucracy of a job. It's the corporate structure. I mean nothing. I'm either going to wither down and become a terrible human being who's unhappy, or I'm going to go out and create income and happiness for myself. And I chose income and happiness. I really did.
Good choice.
Yeah. Good choice. Well, it was funny. I when they sent me back to retraining, like 2 days later, I'm like, oh, 2 days. So I was a complete failure 2 days ago, but I can do retraining now. And I got in the simulator with like the worst instructor in the world. He fails everybody. I thought, I'm done. I'm going to lose my job. So he put me in the simulator, did a little bit of groundwork, put in the simulator, and about 30 minutes into the simulator, he just stopped it. And I went, oh man, I just failed. I'm going to lose my job. And I said, what's going on? He goes, Terry, get out of here. You don't have any problems. He's like, you're excellent pilot. I said, I don't know what happened. I go, yeah, that's my point. I don't know what happened either. Now you're telling me that some disgruntled guy can change my life. Well, guess what? There's only one person that can change my life now, and that's me, who's in charge of the system. And, it was exciting to be MLSP member of the month, but I said, why me? I've only been in a few months. And, out of 7 levels in the company, I'm at level 4, level 5 now. And I said, why me? And what's interesting, I'm not doing that much better than anyone else, but I'm doing it. And everyone else is simply not.
Yeah.
They're all in there spending their money, $150 a month, doing absolutely nothing. And come to find out, I just ended up being somebody that is doing something. So if you just do something in whatever company you're working with, you'll do really well.
I agree. I believe that. Hey, let's wrap this up. It's already 20 after 12, and most of our people have dropped off now anyhow. So, Laura, do you have anything you want to add or say, or I haven't heard from you.
No, I just really enjoyed listening to you, Terry.
Awesome.
It's just simplistic things, and just, no, I really enjoyed just sitting here. I know I wasn't doing this, but I really was listening to you, and I learned a lot. So I appreciate you.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate it.
We had some comments over there. If you saw them from Chris, she retired from Continental, and her dad retired from United. Her mom from Delta, and
Oh, wow.
she saw the movie Scully, and she said, yeah, they put him through hell, which they did.
Yeah. Yeah.
And let me go ahead and stop the broadcast. Thanks everybody for coming. Those who dropped off early, and you must have come in late. I didn't know you were there. Chris, Annie, thanks for coming. We're going to go ahead and shut it down and let Terry go on with the rest of his day. I promised him a half hour. Of course, we'll just leave him go. So thanks everybody. Bye for now.